I kind of get that in a way, because, like, I mean, I was raised up in a Christian family household thing, that kind of old classic Irish Christian
So Catholic.
household. Yeah, Catholic. That's the one.
Okay. That's the one.
Hey, look, I couldn't give two shits about religions nowadays.
It was just funny that you're like, oh yeah, that one.
Hey, look, you tell me something good that Catholicism has done, and I don't know, I'll shake your hand or something.
I think it's a subjective thing. I'd say on net, at least today, it's a positive thing. But you'll find bad apples everywhere. So I'm not gonna crap on an organization that I think generally does good.
Okay, but what if we judge it from its, like, inception? Because I think you'll find that, its net positive to net negative is kind of... It definitely sways in one direction.
Well, but I think you have to take it in the context in which it exists. Like, looking at it now, I do not judge it by the standards of 100 years ago or 500 years ago. I have my own, we'll say, theological differences, but and the fact that, in my opinion, it is technically more of a secular organization masquerading as a religious organization. Again, personal opinion.
Oh, no. Hey, if you want to say something that we can try to get away with personal opinion, have you heard about something called Scientology? And like that, my YouTube channel is gone.
Yeah, yeet. No, it's just, again, it's just one of those where I try to not judge the past by the standards of the present. Because you end up, it doesn't work. Like, I love when, people are like, this country used to fight fascists. We should get back to that. And I was just like, do you realize that every single one of those guys would punch every one of you in the face? They would look at your platform right now, and they'd resurrect George Washington and go for Revolution Round 2. Again, personal theory.
I think it's more amusing that you guys, your media keeps going on about the whole, fighting Nazis and then comparing Trump to a Nazi and all that stuff, and yet, right before a certain event at Madison Square Gardens, you guys kind of held a rally back in the 1930s.
Oh, hold up. So I've seen that one. But, all right. What's the biggest stadium in Australia?
I don't know, but it's probably a cricket one.
Sure. Okay, we're going to call it the Sydney Cricket Stadium.
That's probably Melbourne. they always like to make things bigger just to spite Sydney.
The Melbourne Cricket Stadium.
I literally just said that, and you still say Melbourne.
Look, just because you don't know how to talk doesn't mean I don't. My country's at least real.
There it is.
I've warned you. I will take a joke and drive it into the ground. And let's say it seats 50,000 people. Okay. How often does that stadium get used for all sorts of things? Say, rock concerts or political rallies. Or
we don't do political rallies.
Or visits from the Pope. Or what have you.
Oh, its capacity is 100,000 people.
100,000. What? Okay, fine. My point is that whole video sequence was literally designed to do one thing. But they also neglected to say, like, in 1980, I think it was 1980. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. There have been multiple times that the Democrats have used Madison Square Garden to hold rallies or conventions or speaking events or what have you. Notice that they didn't mention those get-togethers.
Yeah, but the Democrats want to avoid a comparison because if you say if they really get onto it, then you've got to bring up the fact that they let Nickelback play at Madison Square Garden.
See? I mean, mistakes have been made across decades. So that's what was so stupid about that, is because it's just like, you know, like, well, I mean, it's the Alinsky playbook. Accuse the other side of that which you are doing. You know.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Whatever. I'm not trying to make this a political channel, but there's 48 hours, less than 48 hours. No. Slightly more than 48 hours until the polls close on Tuesday. So,
hey, I don't mind. You guys let me ramble off last week about politics, Australian politics, which, you know, don't exist and all that, as we know. But, you know, hey, I'm quite happy. I think you guys need to break down your two-system party thing that you guys got going in your politics and, like, open it up to every whack job.
No, it's open to every whack job.
Then why do we only ever hear about the Republicans and the
Because
Democrats?
Everyone else is such a whack job that they don't get any traction.
We always get traction from our other parties.
Like, okay, but hold on. At the end of the day, how many parties do you really have? No. Stop. You're thinking about this too hard. Okay. Because how many prime ministers do you have?
One.
How does he become the prime minister?
He's the leader of the party.
Which party?
Well, that depends on history.
No, hold on. Well, you're going to say, well, he's the leader of the majority party. Well, what if his party only has 30% of the seats?
Then he's not the majority leader.
No, because then this other party comes in and says, okay, we'll partner up with you. And the other party comes in, okay, we'll partner up with you, so that when they get above the 50% line, and then they get to say, okay, he's the prime minister.
Yes.
And
you know our politics.
Well, no, but let's be honest. For all intents and purposes, And we're just gonna use the number 3 just because that's what I used. I don't care if it's 3 or 8 or whatever. Okay. Is it ever not those 3 parties together? No.
The Liberal National Party, the LNP, have kind of been in bed together for about 50 years, so they kind of are the same party.
Right. So this guy, like this party may have one slightly different thing, and this one may have a slightly different thing, but for all intents and purposes, these 3 parties are always going to be paired up together.
Hmm.
And then on the other side, we'll say it's 4 parties, but they're just really small ones.
Mm-hmm.
Are they ever not aligned together?
Well, you see, that's the funny thing about how our politics works. Frequently, many parties will be thoroughly opposed to each other.
No,
We've
but my
actually
point-
we've actually had times in the past when a majority government couldn't be formed for several weeks because another majority party, wouldn't align with one of the others until a coup happened within that party to make a decision finally.
And even then, it was still parties that pretty much always aligned together.
No. It really wasn't sometimes. That's the weird thing.
Okay, those are going to be exceptions to the rules.
You can phrase it however you want, but Australian politics gets weird.
No, politics everywhere gets weird. But my point is, okay, that at the end of the day, everyone's like, oh, I don't want a 2-party system. But for all intents and purposes, it's a 2-party system. You have these 3 that are always together, and you have these 4 that are always together. It fluctuates in the size of each of those, and maybe sometimes this one will come over to, join up, but for all intents and purposes, they're pretty much together all the time. And so you have the illusion of multiple parties, but in the end, you don't. You get 2 factions because it's the faction that comes together to form the government and everybody else. So it's 2 factions. And then when they vote on stuff in Parliament, the coalition party of all the multiple parties that made up the government, the coalition party gets to, they all vote together, and then everybody else votes against it.
Oh my god, I need to send you some material to see just how bad Australian politics actually is, because you'd be shocked how often that isn't the case.
Don't forget, I am speaking in general terms. I am not speaking in very specifics or this bill or that bill. I'm saying you take all of this together.
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So, but that's what I'm saying. Everyone's like, oh, we need more parties. At the end of the day, like right now, if you look at the Republican Party and what is being pushed and what is being advanced as the party platform, you have Trump, who is even let's just pretend he's always been a Republican, grew up in New York, is from New York. So his style of being a Republican doesn't necessarily match up with mine being from Arizona. Okay. So we've got Trump. We've got J.D. Vance, which is a quote unquote low class, grew up poor. Mom was a meth addict, maybe not meth, whatever. It was something. She was some sort of a drug addict. Raised by his grandparents, super poor, joined the Marines, went to college on the GI Bill. Okay. Basically, the government gives you, super cheap schooling because you served in the military.
Mm-hmm.
But so you've got him. So he's like bog standard Republican. That's fine. You've got Robert F. Kennedy. Okay. As in, like, nephew of John F. Kennedy.
Oh, yeah, I know who the Kennedy is. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure you're from the fake country, you know. Maybe you didn't know. I don't know.
No, like, yeah, I've seen those news reports. I know he's a Kennedy.
Right. Well, anyway, I'm teasing. Anyways, you've got Tulsi Gabbard, who joined the Republican Party, was a Democrat congressman or congresswoman from Hawaii. So, she's a big name. You've got all of these just interesting people. Like, for all intents and purposes, you want to talk about this being like a coalition government?
Mm.
This absolutely is. Whereas, on the other side, it is straight up just, like establishment party, operatives.
I really like Bernie Sanders. I like his maths.
You like his maths?
Yes. He really likes talking about percentages, and I love that. It's very amusing. He would be a perfect Labour person in over
Of course he would. He's a communist.
He's just fun. I like him. He's very amusing every time I see him.
But also completely bought off. No, think about it. He had the momentum in 2016 and then suddenly drops out so that Hillary can run.
Oh, she's a Clinton.
So
your country kind of likes its dynasties, hence why Kennedy.
Actually, no. The crazy. Hey, Brian's like, why did I join this?
Hey, you're red and blue again.
Now I'm purple.
Brian, I missed you last week. Just so you know.
Yeah, we had I've hit the time of year where everything starts to happen. Sure. And it'll be like this up through to probably the beginning of February.
Yeah, no, and I'm not trying to knock hanging out with Seraphis, because obviously I do it fairly frequently lately. But I'm just saying, missed you last week.
Yeah.
That's all.
I missed being here. It was yeah. I'd rather be doing this than what I'm
supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I'm gotta be quiet. Don't want to get in trouble.
Uh-oh. Sorry.
Clowns will eat me.
To be fair, I should probably be doing something else rather than doing this, considering how long. Considering how long the day has essentially been, I've pretty much gone through about 48 hours just in the last 8.
Oh wow, yeah. I can identify with that.
I was about to say that I was partly responsible for that, but I'm like, oh no, last 8 hours. Nope, I wasn't involved at all.
Yeah. No, because Grimm's work now is away from the house, so I am like 100% trying to wrangle the children.
Yeah,
and the boy's having a lot of separation issues, and the girl is taking advantage of this by causing chaos.
That's because she's the second child.
Yes, but it's on a level I didn't think possible outside of, the apocalypse.
And then it all goes through your mind. Fuck, they were right. I should have kept it in my pants.
No, we're not going to have Seraphis talking like this. He likes
No,
his
I'm
children.
talking like this. Just wait till they're 16 and 20.
wait until you're about to be a grandfather.
No.
Hey, my son is married and has a good job, so I am all for it. I am super excited.
Cool.
Hey, if the kid's being responsible, that's fine.
No, I know. Well, and that's what's so important about the formidable years is teaching them how to properly be a dungeon master and how to use a fork.
I will counter that with how to use a knife.
Yes, that too.
No, my middle son dated a girl for a while. Now, she was adopted, and she had like 3 other adopted siblings that were all special needs. And so at home, her dad just got in the habit of cutting up all of the food, because for the special needs kid is kind of needed, but she has some issues, but for all intents and purposes, she's normal. But she came over and like Tanner was cutting her food, and we're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "She doesn't know how to use a knife." I'm like, "Okay, no, we're fixing this."
Yeah.
So,
God. That had reminded me of something, but I had my mouth full of chocolate at the time and I forgot what I was going to add into that. But it was going to be funny. But
How
I
to
forgot.
eat chocolate. You take the wrapper off first. Unless you're a
not
little
giving that
aluminium deficient.
So I do have to go back and rewatch your Dungeon Master's Guide overview.
Yeah.
But I did like seeing that. I did pick it up for my son, the collector's edition, for Christmas, so he has to wait.
I gotta be honest. This new version of the DMG, I wasn't super impressed with the player's handbook, right?
Right.
Mainly because of the artwork. I mean, I just felt that there was too much artwork, too little information. But this Dungeon Master's
bad
Guide,
artwork.
well, it's I don't even care about that. I mean, you know my stance on the artwork. I would rather have, instead of a full page of artwork, I would rather have information. Give me text, give me information, because that's what I'm paying for.
Right.
The DMG has a decent balance between artwork and information, but I really like the layout, and I really like how the message that they're putting in the book. They're really emphasizing you're the DM, what you say goes, but these are some specific scenarios that you'll likely encounter, and this is what you can do to make them easier for yourself and for your players. And I mean, that's something that we haven't really seen before in past editions. Like it hasn't specifically gone out and said, as a DM, you are okay to do this. You are perfectly within your rights to do this if you would rather do this. And I think it's going to screw a lot of people up, to be honest with you, because I think they're looking for definitive, if this number is rolled, the players must do this. And you're not going to find that in this book.
Does it say things like you as the DM can say no to race class combinations, or
it doesn't specify that exactly, but that's what it's basically, that's what it's saying. Like one core example that I'll give you. it specifically cites, okay, so you're rolling a check, a DC whatever check, dex check, and the dice rolls off the table. What do? Do you count the roll or do you re-roll it? And honest to God, I have been in real situations with a new DM that had no clue what they were supposed to do like that. Well, this book tells you exactly what you should do. Now, it's a little ambiguous as to what the solution is, and it basically states, well, you as a table decide what to do.
Right.
You know, y'all decide together to make a homebrew rule. If it rolls off the table, we accept what it rolled, or we pick it up and re-roll it.
Right. My house, it's always dice always have to stay on the table. But yeah, like again, just being told, hey, as a group, come up with a decision.
Right.
You know,
and I like that. I mean, it's like I said, it's something that a new and I'm trying to really look at this from a new DM's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And having that information blatantly stated to you, hey, this is your table. You can come up with the rules as you see fit that work with your table. It's okay to do that. That's your role. And like I said, we've not seen that in past editions. Now, that said, I don't think that myself, I don't think that you, and I don't think that Seraphis would benefit from this book in any way, shape, or form, because 99% of what's in it, we've already been doing.
You don't realize how inexperienced I am, do you?
Well, how long have you been DMing?
Total over my lifetime?
Sure.
Maybe,
and not just D&D, any game.
Maybe 6 months.
Wow, that is a short amount of time.
I don't play very often.
What are you doing with a YouTube channel that's all about role playing then? Come on.
No, it's not all about role playing. It's all about games that I am interested in.
To be fair, it's mostly about painting nowadays.
Lately, it's been about painting. I've been struggling to get stuff read. I've been like in September, I think. No, September I played no board games at all. And we played one in October.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I've been kind of in a rut lately. That's why it's called gaming with ADHD. It's because what is my interest at the moment? So that way, if I do something different, well, everybody's like, well,
falls within the
right, exactly. I don't have to do a D&D channel and always do D&D.
Right.
No, so that's the thing is that I've read a bunch of books, but like in high school, I did not have a group. You know, I realized that yes, could I have done it with my family? Sure. Am I a horrible parent? Pretty much. Okay, maybe not horrible, but not very good. I get anxiety at home, you know, trying to suggest, hey, I would like to do this. And then being afraid because I think it'll suck, you know. So I don't.
Well, then you might get some stuff, some decent information out of the book. Then, it does throw quite a few scenarios out there of what to do in this situation. And again, I think that that's something that previous editions have been kind of lacking. We have seen in past editions a kind of a mock play-by-play, like the DM says this, player A says this, player B says this, DM reacts with this, player C reacts with this, and it just goes on and on. And there is that has always been in a lot of the past editions, and some of it's in this one too. But this also kind of takes a step back from that play-by-play and instead gives you and paints the scenario of this is what you can do in this situation. For example, another example, describe how encourage the players to describe how they're searching for traps instead of simply rolling. I'm going to do a perception check to see if I see any traps.
Oh,
that's one way to go about it. But this book also suggests have them role play that out. Have them explain, if they see a bookshelf, what are they doing specifically? Are they just looking at the spines of the books, or are they pulling a singular book out to look for traps?
Okay, that's actually fantastic. So again, with my limited experience, last year was it last year though? Holy crap, are we almost 2 years since the OGL scandal?
No, we're almost 4 years.
No.
OGL was at the end of COVID-19, was it not?
Well, but it's only 2024. No, the OGL scandal was 2023. Like January of 2023.
Let's see. Yeah, January. Okay, so yeah, January 11th, 2023 is when I did my first video on the OGL 1.1.
Okay.
And then
Games
yeah,
Radar
so, yeah,
did their video. Did their
So we're about 2 years out. Anyways, while that was all going on, that's when I started diving in and following more role play channels and whatnot. And I picked that up from somebody, and I'm like, you know what? That's a really good tip. I think that's brilliant. Don't just roll a perception check, roll a search check. I'm searching the desk. I'm doing this. You don't ask for a roll. The GM tells you, you say what you're doing, and the GM tells you what or if you need a roll. Anyways, the reason I tell the story is a friend of mine, like a year ago, decided he was going to start playing Dungeons and Dragons. So, like, he's my age.
Okay.
Brand new. Okay. He's divorced. All of his kids are out of the house. Whatever. He decides he's going to start doing this. And so I, like, all of this stuff that I'd been picking up, like from Legion of Myth, from Professor Dungeon Master, everybody else that I'd been watching, because
Mage's Museum?
Mage, probably. Anyways, I don't remember exactly when I met Sean, but so it's like all of these just cool tips that I'd been seeing, just that particular one was one of them. I started throwing that at him. And I'm like, do this, make sure you're doing this, try and encourage other people. Don't just, roll your dice. And the funny thing is like, was it yesterday or Friday? I'm doing my paint stream. And like, so when I met him, we were both working at GameStop, big fans of Halo, and I'm painting the Halo miniatures for the new miniatures game. So I'm like, oh, you should check it out, because I'm painting this. And so he actually, like, I was kind of talking about him and how he'd gotten into gaming, and now, like, he's a dungeon master. He's running a couple of games. He's running a game, like, at a store. He's running a game at home. He's playing in another one, so he's gone whole hog. But he's like, that piece of advice I still remember and I still use to this day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I did something good.
Well, I will say this, and I think this might put a smile on Seraphus's face. I think one thing that they've screwed up with on this book, this new DMG, and again, I'm in the process of reading it page by page all the way through. But from what I've experienced so far, just from my thumb through of it, the big screw up is the majority of what I'm learning or getting out of it could be applied to any role-playing game. Not just I'm not finding much that's in there that's specific to Dungeons and Dragons. There's a few things that it talks about, like with advantage, disadvantage, saving throws, that kind of thing, that are mechanically tethered to D&D. But the overall, like, just secondary advice that it gives for scenarios, it's could be applied to any role-playing game out there.
And I like when books do that kind of stuff, when there's where yes, it may be the Dungeon Master's Guide, but you can use it somewhere else.
Right. You could
the
use it as a
interest-
storyteller's guide, or as a game master's guide, or as a whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the most interesting one to me, so I'm still trying to read through Smooth Operations for Shadowrun 6th edition, which is the first time they've done a book for the face character. Okay. So you're thinking, okay, well, it'd be, whatever the face character does. But I'm reading through it, and it turns out this is just a great, here's how to be a player. Here's how to, do investigations, meet up with a contact, do all these kinds of things. It doesn't have to be a face character. It doesn't even have to be Shadowrun. This turn, I was shocked. I'm like, this is material that's great regardless of what game you play.
Right.
So I like that. So Seraphis, now that Brian and I have been dominating the conversation.
Yeah, no. I'm just something you just said then doesn't seem right. Is this really the first time they've? I thought they did a face book in 5th edition.
My understanding is that it's the first face book.
Like a book with someone's face on it? I don't know what that means.
So the face role is supposed to be like, well, think the A-Team. Okay. Face.
Yeah.
Like, he's the guy that looks normal, that, can, has the good contacts, knows the Mr. Johnson to get the runs, things like that.
Okay.
Or you need to send someone in to be the infiltrate, as an executive instead of just the janitor team, so
Keep talking, I'll be right back.
Yeah, that's what that role is supposed to be. But as I'm reading through it, literally the material just comes off as, this is just good player advice. So
gotcha.
Which I wasn't expecting from that role. But I've also seen it in other places, like I think it's the Galaxy Exploration Guide for Starfinder. Is really good for just any kind of a science fiction game. Like how to run planetary exploration, how to, just how to build out a world, things like that.
Gotcha.
So, I really liked when I saw that one. I haven't covered Starfinder in a while.
I don't think I've ever played that one. I haven't played too much in the way of science fiction role playing. I mean, there was Star Wars, Star Trek, Traveler way back in the day. There had to have been a couple of others.
It's literally Pathfinder in space.
Gotcha.
So literally, the Pathfinder world is sucked into another dimension.
Galorian.
Right. And just does not exist in the space world. But it's the same races, the same classes. Because, I mean, it's Pathfinder, so it's a 3.5 clone anyways.
Right.
3.75.
I get that, but at the end of the day, it's a 3.5 clone.
Yeah, but when you have Skip Williams and so many of the original developers from the 3.5 team come over to Paizo to like make all the improvements and fixes that they wanted to do. But once he went to 4th edition, it's more of a 3.75 system.
Well, I know, but that's the thing is you can like at least on Pathfinder 1st edition you could still use all of your D&D 3.5 stuff. I mean that was the selling point to it because you don't have to stop playing 3.5. Yeah. So anyways, and then
also the advanced bestiary has transformations for constructs, which basically gives you transformers, and I love that. Wait, aren't I playing a 3.5 game? I am. Gee, I hope I haven't told my DM about that. I have.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting setting. I never got too deep into it because again I always chicken out on playing, but I have most of the 1st edition books. I don't think I'm going to get the 2nd edition stuff.
I need to check. I can't remember if I've got.
Yes, Mage, that's correct.
Oh, also, and this is just because it annoys Grim as much as it annoys me. It is pronounced bestiary. I don't know why Americans keep pronouncing it bestiary. That just sounds weird.
I don't. I say bestiary.
Yeah, I say bestiary.
There's so many channels that I keep having to look up, that I keep having to come across that are just like bestiary.
I mean, I'm not too surprised. It is BEST, best.
The English language is stupid, though.
That's fair.
I mean, it's just half the words we have make no sense. Is it alive in concert? Are we supposed to live in the concert?
Right.
I mean, they're spelled the exact same, and I don't know.
Well, but that's also because we're willing to take foreign words and just stick it in there. It's fine.
Yeah, pretty much.
Could you imagine if we kept the European masculine, feminine on our words as well, on top of everything else?
Yeah, that
we
would
have even more words.
I think that's the only reason that English works the way it does is because it doesn't have that.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know. But I will be honest. Even like okay, so I speak Portuguese. Okay. Portuguese is a gendered. What? Are you making an England joke? Well, but I speak Portuguese, which is a gendered language. And the thing is, there's generally a rule on how it works. If it ends in A, it's feminine. If it ends in O, it's masculine.
What if it ends in L?
And guess what? The problem is it doesn't follow the rule.
What if it ends in A, but it identifies as a masculine?
I was just about to say. So the word for day is Gia, D-I-A. Okay. Gia is masculine.
So it breaks its own rules.
It's all the time. All the time. I practice my Duolingo every single day, and I constantly getting it wrong because the gender of the language also affects words. So, like, I would to say the same day, it's O mesmo Gia. But to say the same thing is coisa. Coisa ends in an A. A mesma coisa. So you have to know the because then you have to change other words just to make it work. Anyways, English is not alone in being stupid.
You're giving me flashbacks to when I was being taught Italian in primary school, and on top of the fact that I can't roll my R's, I also had a lot of trouble with the masculine and feminine, and I think I went through 3 Italian teachers.
Yup.
By the end, I just wasn't being taught Italian anymore. I picked up the majority of it by now, but
Right, but that again, it's you have you just have to be immersed in the language to actually learn it. But regardless, my main point is just we're not the only stupid ones.
Kapla.
Exactly. That might not have any exceptions. But that's just because it's made up. And so they can establish a rule and then just follow the rule as they're using it. So
Mage, I love having you around.
I think he's got a fair argument.
Don't you start. I've already dropped you once before. Which, by the way, I hope that stayed in the edit for that next
What
video.
edit?
Oh, you did?
I don't edit my videos. Who has time for that? Especially on a 2.5-hour video. So we're trying some.
Don't tell them it's going to be that long. They won't stick around for it.
They stick around for the live streams. Why would they stick around for the video?
Yeah, your premiere that you're doing.
Yeah, so we're trying something because I've been absolutely loving this. I really do enjoy doing this deep dive with Seraphis. I want to stick to my plan to rotate through co-hosts and cover a variety of games. But I do actually feel bad because I've been having a lot of fun with Seraphis, and I don't want to be kicking you to the curb,
No, don't worry. It'll be fine because once you get your next co-host, you're going to find that you've had the bar really, really low, and you're going to see that, you won't want to come back to me. I mean, Jesus Christ. You're going to be like, why was I having fun with him?
No, trust me. If anybody gets invited, it's because I like them as a person. So they're just gonna get in that that's why they're getting invited.
Yeah, and Seraphis, make no mistake, man. You've got there is a humor that you hit that it's subtle but blatant at the same time.
That's just being Australian, man.
Yeah,
maybe. I mean, it's just I don't know. That's one of the reasons I enjoy having you on, and it's why I like being on here. I wish I could have been here, at the start of it. But
what, for the politics?
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I would have clammed up at that. I agree with all sides. I don't. Yeah.
I didn't even want to go that route. It just ended up happening, and it's not hard to drag it out of me, but I even try to keep it off of my channel. Like my paint streams are just a stream of consciousness. I'll talk about whatever, and anytime something mildly controversial comes up, I try to just be like, okay, I kind of think this way, but that's all I'm saying. Let's move on.
That reminds me of what I wanted to ask about the Mormons.
Okay, if this is anything like the last time you asked a question on stream, I'm gonna slap you.
This one isn't X-rated. No,
this one's not X-rated.
Oh no,
he's already forgotten.
I know, right?
It was funny but good. Oh, that's what it was. Yes, the gays. Right?
Okay.
So, do you have people who are gay who aren't part of the church but who support the church?
Yes.
Ah, that's interesting. I want you to know
There's
about that one.
there's people that deal with same-sex attraction, know it, admit it, and are married and have multiple children.
America's weird.
No, but that's
No,
but
just
that's what I was
religion is weird.
No, but that's what I was saying before we went live. You have a choice. You do not have to join the church. Everyone gets upset that, oh, well, gays can't be gay in the church. Well, that's the standard for everybody. But you don't have to join. You don't have to.
But you
You
can
don't
still
have to.
support.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, so remember, this is dealing with a matter of faith.
Mm-hmm.
So if you believe that, if you believe that the church is where you need to be and what you need to be doing, are you going to sacrifice something that you want to do to be a member of the church? I know it's a hard. I know it sounds like a hard choice, but it is what it is. So
Don't worry, he's not converting me. It's going back into my deep dives of things that suddenly sparked my.
I'm willing to answer any honest question.
Yep.
I don't mind. Other people may not want to hear it, but I will do my best to give an honest answer.
Also, do you want to actually explain how we got on to talking about the Mormons in the first place?
Oh yeah, that was actually kind of fun. Okay. All right. Bria now. So, have you heard and I'm going to call it conspiracy theories. It's not really a conspiracy theory because it's actually happening, but like China buying up farmland and Bill Gates buying up all the farmland and people trying to say that, oh, they're going to buy up all the farmland and then they're going to, stop the farming and make us, eat bugs. Have you heard those conspiracy theories?
No, but sure. Okay.
Okay. Trust me, the stories are out there. Okay. China owns a lot of farmland in the United States. Bill Gates owns a lot of farmland in the United States. Now, we already kind of spoiled it based on the previous topic, but the Mormon Church owns more farmland than China and Bill Gates put together in the United States. And what's interesting is that it's still being used for farmland.
How dare they?
That's the worst part, really.
Right. At Doc Flamingo, exactly. I'm calling it a conspiracy theory more about like that they're trying to buy up all the farmland and then not use it for farming. That's more what I'm talking about as far as conspiracy theory. But like they rent it out to tenant farmers, people that want to be farmers but don't necessarily want to own the land. That's fine. So they rent it out for that. They run some of it as farming operations just because. They run some of it as farming operations for the church welfare system. Like, if you ever want to look up Welfare Square in Salt Lake City, it is a massive operation, that is literally essentially just like charitable food goods. It is like, and so yeah, so they use that. They've got, paper forests, they've got, cattle ranches, all sorts of stuff. It is absolutely nuts. And it was Mr. Max that I knew the church owned a lot, but he actually like put me onto this, the fact that the church owns more farmland than China and Bill Gates combined. And they're the ones that are like getting all the heat lately. So that was kind of funny.
He's just trying to, drive attention away from the fact that he finds people delicious.
That's fair. I was there for that. That was strange.
I was in chat for that. That was hilarious.
There was something gaming that I wanted to talk about, and then Seraphis like, now I forgot what I was gonna ask.
It's called Seraphis Happens.
Yes, he does.
So actually, Game Masters, what planes of existence does it outline in the new DMG?
Most of them.
Does it give us a plane of dreams?
I don't have my book right here in front of me, but yeah, it's got what it lists out is a small blurb about each one. But I can't recall exactly what it says. I mean, it was just one that I kind of glanced at. Like I said, I haven't quite got to that section yet. In my actual read through. But
yeah.
I mean, it's got all of them. I mean, I did point out Eberron and exactly what it said in my last video. I don't
think I got to that part, and I need to rewatch it.
Yeah, I found that part to be a bit like, I know they're just like a one sentence basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's
setting.
It's just a table. But there's another section in there that goes into a little bit more detail.
Okay.
But what I'm really hoping is that my 2 cents worth, right? I think what will really turn D&D around would be if they kind of go back to old school, and I mean by like 2nd edition material, and give us setting information. I like what they've done with Greyhawk in the DMG.
Yeah.
It's given you it's a whole chapter that's devoted to Greyhawk. Now they could certainly expand upon it because there's a lot of information about Greyhawk in it, right? I mean, that exists out there aside from the DMG. But what I like is they're giving you this information. They're not telling you that here this happens, here this happens. As the players go here, this happens. It's not set up like an adventure. It is simply, this is the lore information. This is the basics information. You take it. Now you go make an adventure with it. And to me, like, I don't know, did you ever see the gray box set for Forgotten Realms when it came out for 2nd edition?
Kind of like stone-like pattern on it.
No, I mean, it was just it was 2 floppy books, some maps, and some little overlays, clear overlays that you could put on the map. Yeah, the old school box set. It was all setting information. There was no adventure tethered to it at all. It was all setting information. And
modern WotC would never do something like that.
I mean, but that's what they've done with Greyhawk in this new DMG.
Yeah.
And that's what I think that would really turn the game around if they provided to players, instead of like what we got with Spelljammer, instead of like what we got with Dragonlance, where it was, here's some lore information that spans like 6 pages, but the remaining 90 something or 120 something, that's all an adventure for you. Have fun.
Yeah, I hate that format.
I can't stand that format. I'm going to create something that works for my table. I need the information, not the adventure.
Do you-
Can I
do you-
use and butcher parts of the adventure? Sure.
Do you
But
think they're going to go back to that though?
I can only
Because-
hope that they do. Let me rephrase. I don't think that they will. I have to agree with Seraphis. I don't think that current modern WotC would ever do that. But my honest 2-cent opinion is if they did that, I think that would sell a hell of a lot better than a book that is split between an adventure and a small amount of lore.
Right.
I think
Oh no, you finished up.
No, I was just going to say, I just think that a core setting book is just going to sell better.
Just for the record, I've got 3.5 up because we've been talking about that.
Yeah.
The Eberron campaign setting book for 3.5 is just over 320 pages.
Right.
And only the last 11 pages is an adventure.
And see, something like that, I could get behind.
Which I actually think that's great for a campaign setting. Hey, here's all of the information. Here's one quick adventure just to give you an idea of what adventures in this campaign setting should look like.
Right. Now, let me ask you guys this one, though. So assume that they did this for 5th edition. Lore being lore, there's only, so much lore that's out there because, I mean, it's lore. It's already happened. If they came up with a campaign setting, and I'll specifically say Eberron, right?
Yeah, let's keep it to Eberron.
How would you feel if instead of giving us a lore dump, which is, obviously anything that's come before this point, if they go, okay, so the last time we saw Eberron as a campaign setting was 3.5. Well, we did have that one book from 5th edition that the actual creator did and put over on Drive-Thru RPG or DM's Guild.
I haven't looked at those, but yeah.
Yeah. So, but what happens if WotC puts out an Eberron setting book that covers from that point to, in other words, if it progresses the timeline?
I would be totally in favor of that. I would like to at least see, that's one thing that we're coming up to, and we're both kind of terrified of, because we've been going through chapter by chapter,
right,
and in 2 chapters, it's life in the world. It's 100, like Seraphis just said, it's 300 pages. It's a third of the book. It's 100 pages of just, here is a country. Here's the next country. Here's the next country. Here's 4 to 6 pages each. And just, I would like them to at least reprint that in some format. Because, again, it's already been done.
Right.
But if for the 5.5 edition Eberron book, here's a new campaign setting. It's another 300 pages, but all of the lore dump, I think that's a great idea. I would buy that in a heartbeat, even though I don't want 5.5.
And I think this was a missed opportunity that they had with the Vecna Eve of Ruin adventure, right? While it each chapter touched upon different settings, none of those settings were cataclysmic unto themselves. Like nothing major happened in those settings or in those specific adventures that would alter or drastically alter that specific setting. They should have had that happen as a launching point for everything that comes after it. Now, imagine had they done that, and you had an earth-shattering event happen in Greyhawk, you had an earth-shattering event happen in Eberron, an earth-shattering event happen on in the Forgotten Realms, et cetera, et cetera. At 5.5, they start pushing out campaign setting books that start at that point. You have now a common reference starting point for every setting out there. Vecna has destroyed, or this element was toppled by Vecna and his cohorts, or demons from the abyss as a result of Vecna opening this rift flooded Eberron and melded with the constructs there. You have that starting point and then progress forward as
I've got a better
whole
idea
new
than
thing.
that, but yeah.
Well, go for it. I'm just shooting the shit, but
Oh no, I was just thinking because like a more interesting idea for that would be either in because you've showed me what that Vecna section of Eberron was like, right?
Yeah.
And if this had been like second edition's last Vecna book to kind of explain the transition to third edition,
Yeah.
that section would have been really good, really well done if it had either done something that made Kyber awaken or the demon lords awaken
Right.
and break free of their chains. The ancient Rajas, basically. Or if it had reopened the connection to Dalcor, the plane that the Korai spirits come from, both of those things could be majorly cataclysmic, and then you could have pretty much a clean slate to remake and retell the story of Eberron post that, just like what they did with the Forgotten Realms for third edition.
Right.
Well, and I'll push back a little bit on it, just slightly, in that it doesn't matter what the apocalyptic event is. I think Brian's on the right track, whether it's something merged with the constructs, or the demons were released, or whatever. Some sort of I think I think you're on the right track. The problem I could see with it being you're basing stuff off of an adventure, and what if your party did something different in that adventure than the way the official story goes? I think you could run into some pushback from people on that.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, that's valid. I look back at how they ended, like in Die Vecna Die. I look back at how that ended, and I mean, of course, that was 30 years ago or more, and I can't think of anybody that threw arms up because there were realm shattering events that happened in that game or in that module. But again, to be fair, I think when they transitioned from second edition to third edition, I really don't recall that there was a whole lot of lore changes, and I'm not talking about changing lore. I'm just talking about having a common jumping point for a new edition to release lore books. I mean, because in third edition, we did get some lore material. But it didn't, as best I recall, I'm not sure that it actually advanced the timelines or anything.
It did change it by it's either 100 years or 1,000 years or something. There was a change in the timeline.
Okay.
Well,
an advancement to it.
But it also doesn't have to be a huge shift. Like I'll use rifts as an example.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. What were you gonna? I hadn't said it yet.
No, I'm saying exactly. No, I agree with yes. It doesn't have to be a huge shift.
Right. Well, in riffs. Okay. Now my brain's locked in. I'm like, what is he agreeing to?
Your politics.
But like, yes, exactly. And everyone else's. When Rifts launched, the timeline was set at 101 post-apocalypse, which then like at some point they decided to move everything up, and so now when books are coming out, which is interesting because you still have the old books, which are written from like 101 post-apocalypse, which is like 300 years past modern day. But then, what is that? It's out of focus.
What is what?
Asaric.
Sure. But now everything is 109 PA. And so it's not a huge jump, but it's 8 years farther into the future. So
Yeah.
like for Eberron, what is it, like 5 years?
6.
6 years after the Great War. Okay.
Last war.
Or last war, whatever. You know, I forget. But they could move it to 12 years or 9 years, something like that. Just some sort of an advancement. You know.
Yeah, and I think that's mostly what I would want to see is some form of an advancement. The other element to the DMG that I'm a bit disappointed in, spoilers everybody if you haven't checked it out, at the end of Vecna Eve of Ruin, ultimately there's one of two possibilities. You either defeat Vecna or he wins. If he wins, all lore, all settings destroyed anyway. They're completely remade. If the players defeat him, he's simply cast down to his home realm, which is Greyhawk. With Greyhawk being the setting that is in the new DMG sandbox setting, there's zero mention of Vecna and what's happened to him. You know, it doesn't state that he's landed in a pit somewhere and is licking his wounds. It doesn't say anything. And I think that there should have been at least one tiny crumble of hint, just because of how big and bad they tried to make him out to be in Eve of Ruin.
I think that this is the ongoing systemic problem within WotC, where if they give a canon ending, then they'll think people will complain because it doesn't fit their narrative. But if you're following that story along, then canonically there's going to be a true ending to how that is meant to end.
Exactly.
So what the fuck is your problem?
Right.
But like, if they don't take that, if they don't grow a pair, either balls or memories, whatever you want, and just do it, then they're eventually going to become so vague on all their lore that adventures won't mean anything.
Right.
Well, and I think there's a problem in that we want to see the stories about these big bad guys. Okay. I am not a big bad guy. There you go. You're welcome. But there is something about having a mythical character that's standing in front of you who then ceases to be a mythical character.
Right.
Okay. And I came up with this theory yesterday because my sons and I went over to the Warhammer store because it was free miniature day.
Hey, keep talking. I'll be right back. I want to go get that book real quick. I want to look something up.
Okay. So my son was asking, he's like, well, why don't they make more miniatures for the Primarchs? You know, because there's 18 that we know of.
I knew you were going to go there.
Well, right. Well, because they've got some models for Primarchs out, but they don't have all of them.
Yeah, where's my Lehman Russ, motherfuckers?
Right. So why don't they put them out? And it's like, okay, there's not just the story that you have, like it is partly the story, but then you also have to consider like the business decisions It's like we've got all of this lore, we've got these mythical characters, but then we just start putting out all the models for it. You know, how does that affect that story? But I do think the bigger point is that mythical character. You know, a Primarch isn't supposed to be wandering around the Warhammer 40K universe. You know, the Primarchs are long gone.
Yeah, but by that sense too, why do the Eldar have their Phoenix Lords then? They're almost on the same scale.
Because they never died off? Well, no, but think about it. The Primarchs, like, the Phoenix Lords were never really main, quote-unquote, main characters. You know, the Primarchs, like, you know, in 40K, the Primarchs are legendary.
Yeah.
You know, for the longest time, oh, well, we knew where Marneus Calgar was. He's wounded. He's going to die, but he's in the stasis field. Is he healing? And so here's this mystery that they've just kind of thrown in there. And they could have left it. And
there you go.
Well, but they could have left it, but now they woke the character up and they took some of the mystery away. So, like a character like Vecna, he's the big bad evil guy of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, you had literal Primarchs, like, again, my boy Lehman Russ, who literally just took his bodyguard retinue into the warp to go beat the crap out of one of his brothers because he hated him so much.
And so where is he? We don't know. That's the mystery.
But at the same time, that could be really fun for a campaign for, you know, you're playing across this battlefield, and then all of a sudden, here comes a Primarch just charging through because he's looking for his brother to kick his ass up for.
And I absolutely agree. But again, it takes the mystery away. And I realize that they've told stories about Vecna forever, but
but have they all been good?
I haven't played any of them, so I don't know.
So Vecna actually is mentioned in this new book.
Yep.
Very briefly and very nondescript. Doesn't mention anything about Eve of Ruin or being cast down to Greyhawk. It just states that he was originally from Greyhawk, and his evil will was so great that he persisted beyond death and eventually became a demigod of secrets and evil magic. His ambition drives him to pursue greater divine power across the multiverse.
Does it say about his relationship with Cass?
It just states that, yeah, it does say a small relationship with Cass. Just states that he and Cass helped to forge a kingdom. And that's it. Doesn't say that they broke up. Doesn't say that they... yeah, anyway. I'll go in more depth and detail about it on my channel, but I'll save you guys the bore.
No, I think it's still interesting to talk about. But again, then it does also it does actually I think it does also get back to the question of why didn't they do something apocalyptic to all of these settings?
So let me throw this out there, right? My issue, I want to see canon. I love canon. I don't adhere to canon at my table. I remember when I played Star Wars, the role-playing game. I was running Star Wars, the role-playing game. We all went to go see Return of the Jedi. And in my game, in the throne room, you know, Luke and Vader fight. Luke turns Vader to good. You know, he sees the conflict in him, and Vader picks the Emperor up, chunks him off the railing, and he tumbles down. Okay. In my game, Luke kills the Emperor and becomes the supreme evil guy. I still like lore, but again, at my table, I ignore lore. So I would still like to see what happens from an official standpoint. I don't care about it being ambiguous because I'm going to ignore it anyway. But I still like to know what's happening. I still like to see canon. I want to know something definitive.
And I don't think you're alone, but I think that is also one of the biggest problems with canon, because you get the people that are attached to the canon that can't separate the canon from their game. Like it has to all be canon accurate, or they go somewhere and a DM wants to do something different, and then the player starts the fight because, well, and then on this page and blah blah blah. So role-playing games have typically not gone deep into the official canon because they want you to be able to tell your own story. We want the canon.
I think from this point forward, I'm just going to be the major asshole DM. Okay, so you said on this page that it says this, and let me see that book for a second. Rip that page out, crumble it up, burn it, toss it in the trash. That page doesn't exist anymore. Well, yeah, but on the other side of that page were all the jump rules. Guess what? You can't jump anymore either.
Our 5.5 game is going to be a lot of fun, isn't it?
It's going to be really hard because when I do run this game, I specifically want to adhere to what exactly is in the book with as little homebrew as possible. Just because I want to see, I want to try the challenge just to see if I can make that work. And it's going to be tough for me. Very, very tough.
Why couldn't you make a raw game work?
Because I don't like raw. I mean, okay. I like to. I put it this way: I want nothing more than for Seraphis when Seraphis sits down to roll up a character. I want nothing more than for an artificer to be in this game. I would love that, but guess what? Can't do it because they don't exist in 5.5.
Now, in Tales of the Valiant, on the other hand, core class.
Right.
Just renamed it the Mixed.
Does it? I thought 5.5 was still supposed to be backwards compatible.
My rule set or my stipulation is I want to run the game using only the 3 core books: the Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and the Monster Manual. That's why we're waiting until like mid-February or so for me to run it, so that I have time to get the Monster Manual and all that stuff.
That's the key that was missing.
Yeah, that's the key. Yeah.
Plus, I wouldn't want to run the 5e Artificer anyway, because one, it uses a bunch of spells.
Yeah, and see, my version of it would be more akin to what you're seeing in 3.5. That's more
or TOV.
Yeah.
Creating enchantment effects.
I won't say that it won't evolve into something like that at some point, but at least starting out, I want to stick to the 3 core books, and that's just the challenge that I'm putting out there for myself.
No, and I think that's a completely legitimate challenge. The thing that was throwing me, you're like, well, I can't do this, and it's like,
just wait until our 4th session that happens. That's in March, in May, on May 14th, in which Seraphis comes waltzing inside of a super powerful battle mech from BattleTech. I mean, that's the kind of shit that I want to mesh together. I like to take different parts of different systems and.
I would never do such a thing, by the way. That's completely anachronistic. Now,
would allow it.
a horde of homunculi, on the other hand, just like 15 HD, steel defenders just charging. Then they pop out wings, and now they're flying as well. Just my pack of steel dogs, basically, and they're all named Fido.
But yeah, no, I like that idea. I think it'll be interesting to see, a very quote unquote raw game.
And then at some point next year, I'll be able to work out when the kids are at school, and hopefully get around to doing something where I can. Yeah, excuse me. Get around to either replacing this or doing it on another day, and run a cipher game for people who would like to have a go at that.
Nobody wants to have a go at that. I'm kidding. I couldn't resist.
This is why we're the only people around you, Brian.
I know that. Even Kim doesn't hang around me that much.
That was your choice. You work overnight, YouTube for hours, you sleep during the day. You've abandoned me, bruh.
I don't know how much of that came through.
All of it.
All of it. Okay. The funny thing is, she did have a little smirk on her face, so it wasn't necessarily mean.
It's real.
It didn't sound like there was a smirk.
Yeah, I promise it was there.
Tell Kim that I can't wait for this My Little Pony game, because I want to see that coming out of a My Little Pony.
Yeah.
Hands and let everyone know I'm not okay.
Seraphis, for the record, is very excited for us to do our My Little Pony deep dive. Kim's very excited for it as well.
I swear it's going to be a race between my channel and your channel to get that pushed out.
Got to get through Eberron first. Dear Lord, this is taking forever.
I tried to warn you, man.
I still have to get the book, so I don't have it yet.
I reached out to Max Liao because every Sunday they do RPG Digest, and like usually he can get through a couple of chapters, in a book doing a deep dive. So it's like maybe 6 to 8 weeks to get through a whole book. So I figured.
Meanwhile, here it is, 2027, and we're on page 4.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I am. Well, and I'll kind of spoil it because we haven't really talked about it. But the adventure in the back of the Eberron campaign setting. So once we're done with all the chapters, there's going to be like a week, maybe 2, just depends, where Seraphis actually runs that. And we're going to get a small group of people. And so, because I thought that would be a fun twist, we're not just going to, deep dive the campaign setting.
Right.
We'll take this little adventure. We'll show you an Eberron game. So, and I made Seraphis do it because, again,
Oh no! Don't let me play the artificer by any means. I'll run the game.
And again,
You can play all the artificers.
Right? Exactly. I have zero self-confidence in being able to run a game. I know I need to get over it, but
you do realize I've only been GMing for like 7 years, and although that does cover about gonna say probably at least 6 different systems in that time.
Okay.
Yeah, I've only been GMing since like 2015, man.
Still more than me.
You get the confidence. You just got to keep trying at it.
I don't have the confidence. I really don't.
I'll give you a hint. I don't either. I just fake it, just like the YouTube thing.
I'll even tell this story because I'm not afraid of telling this story. The only reason I'm married is because Kim said hi first.
Sucks to suck.
Okay.
Did she just say bye?
No, she said sucks to suck. So
I am so
well,
I
glad
mean,
it's
that's
1 a.m.
subjective.
right now, because if Grim was hearing this, I would be dead.
you would what?
I'd be dead. Because she would tell some stories and it would just make me look even worse.
Okay. Kim and I had a class in college together. I sat on one side of the room. She sat on the other. She claims to have talked to me a couple of times before she said hi to me. I don't remember them. But I also don't question them because I don't remember them. I can't say she didn't. But we were at a crosswalk because anyways, we're at a crosswalk going to the parking lot where both of our cars are. And I'm standing there and I turn around. I'm like, oh, there's that girl from my public speaking class. And in my head, I'm literally like, I'm not going to say anything. And I turned back around. And then this cute girl from my public speaking class walked up, and she was in a good mood that day, so she said hi.
Mistakes were made.
She says mistakes were made. I say it's been downhill for her ever since. So, again, I am not joking that the only reason I'm married is because Kim said hi first.
You said
Okay,
you
I
weren't here to say hi. So it shouldn't be first. It should just be said hi at all.
Said hi at all.
I just want to point out, I probably wanted to end the stream about 15 minutes ago, but this has totally been worth it, man.
No, I love Kim. She's great. She's like literally the best thing that's happened to me. But she put herself in this situation.
To be fair, if you want something worse,
Regrets.
Grim and I, first of all, met online.
Okay.
So we're even lucky that either of us wasn't actually a serial killer wanting to kill the other one. So
Yeah.
And there's no
Um,
time.
Um, but like the other thing is that it's only been like 8 years since I met her.
And
And we've got 2 kids. Come on, man.
and
Well, how many kids did you have after 8 years with Kim? Really? What's wrong with you?
want to know how long it was before, like, from the time she said hi to the time we got married?
Was that a year?
6 months.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, that's right.
6 months.
So many regrets.
Yeah. So now that also does go back to the Mormon thing. That's absolutely how we roll. Because we don't have sex before we get married.
Man, did we want to.
You are killing Seraphis right now.
Dr. Pepper for the win.
I think I broke him.
No, I broke him.
Right? I like how you're just sitting there. You're like, cool story, bro. And Seraphis is just dying.
I'm trying everything I can to just maintain my composure.
Do you
Why?
know how difficult it is to piss yourself laughing while trying to be as quiet as possible with a house full of sleeping people? I hate you.
I mean, this is my life. I'm not ashamed of it. And yes, she is making chicken noises now.
I identify as chicken.
No, but yeah, seriously, like that is actually not uncommon for members of our church. I've seen, and I'll admit, I've seen worse. Met and engaged within 48 hours.
No way.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, girl that I went to high school with.
Are they still married?
I don't know. I'm not friends with her, but
Oh, that's good because you should have been.
clearly you're just entertaining Seraphis and Game Masters.
I mean, that's what I'm here for.
And on that buck, buck, Brian, buck.